Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to the MenoLounge. I'm so excited to see you. I'm Julie Gordon-White, CEO of MenoWell, Menopause, Energy, and Protein Bars. And it's Tuesday, my favorite time of the week. We have Barb Sobel, our clinical nutritionist, on with us today, who is going to be talking about an anti-inflammatory diet. Is that the sexiest thing? No, but still, it's great. She's going to come back up. Before I bring Barb up, I just want to say thanks to everybody who's navigated through us with our double chocolate brownie going out everywhere. The orders have been a little wonky, and I have to say, when you have a fast-growing company, things break. That is what growth does. It breaks stuff. So thank you for working with us as we figure out where the little breaks are, but I think we're good for now. So let me bring Barb up. So glad you guys are all here. Let's see. Go topic people want to know. Just saying. Put your questions in the chat and we'll make sure Barb answers them.
Hi.
Hello.
How
Hi,
are
Barb.
you?
I was thanking everybody for bearing with us as some of the orders that went out were kind of wonky because when you're growing fast, things break. Like,
Yeah. Well,
how
I'm
did that
glad
happen?
the chocolate double brownie's back. That's good news.
I know. Barb and I rendezvoused on Sunday morning. We did the pass off in the parking lot. Like, here, Barb, here's your bars.
I
Because we
know.
fortunately live
Yeah.
near each other. We're doing like the back of the, what do you call that? Trunk.
Yeah.
I'm selling stuff out of the back of my trunk, but I'm not selling it. I just gave it to her, of course. So, anywho, Barb, how was your yoga event on
It was
Sunday?
awesome. I love when we bring community together and there's such a shared experience around menopause and um, the takeaways that I felt were really where you get information, how do you navigate without getting overwhelmed, what do we really eat, where do we go in the weeds, and what's really important. So I'm so glad that you do these talks all the time because it really helps with some of that.
Hmm. Well,
Yeah.
thanks, Barb. And I'm glad you're here
Yeah.
today because I always look forward to our time together. Hey, Coach Angela. Hi, Beachy Girl. Oh, I love that. That's great. Beachy Girl. I wish I was on the
I
beach
know.
right now. Then I would be here with you
I
guys, right?
know. But it's
I am
so
going to
nice
Newport
today.
Beach,
I was
though.
just outside and I was like, ooh, it's going to be hard to work after a few days of rain.
Focus, focus, focus. Okay. Okay. So, Barb, we are promising today anti-inflammatory diet 101. So, we
Yeah.
better start with a definition. What is an anti-inflammatory diet?
So it is a diet that supports bringing down inflammation in our body, right? It is not a one specific diet for every single person. It is
Mm,
nutrient dense. It is flexible. It supports our immune system, our digestive system, our brain, our cardiovascular system, our bone health, our weight, our muscle pain, joint pain, and just sort of chronic inflammation. So it can
mm,
help damper that. Of course, there can be lots of causes for all of these things, but diet is really fundamental. And there are some things that we can put into our diet that are that dampen inflammation. So they're anti-inflammatory. There's other things we can put in our diet that are inflammatory for some people, but not other people. And
ah,
the magic in this is figuring out what works for your body. And it, of course, can change in perimenopause, right?
then there's that. Right
Yeah.
when you think, oh,
That's
I
the
know what my
wrench in the
body likes and what
system,
it
right?
doesn't, then rah. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's oh, health coach Angela said she loves turmeric for that. Angela, you are fast forwarding to like 5 minutes into the talk here. No, I'm
Yeah.
just teasing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's one of Barb's favorites. So inflammation in the body can come from a lot of things, right?
Right.
So it can come from disease, it can come from lack of sleep, what we
Stress,
eat,
right. An
infections,
infection, right.
stress.
Right. I
So
mean,
it's,
you
and
know, sometimes inflammation is good,
right,
right?
right.
You prick your finger, it bleeds, it gets all red and, you know, hot. That's inflammation, but it's all the white blood cells going in there and healing.
Right.
The problem is when we have inflammation that's chronic and then symptoms build
Chronic
up, and for
defined
everyone's
as
all the time.
ongoing for a
Yeah,
long period of time.
yeah, yeah. So we don't want to be no inflammation because it could save our life, right?
Yeah, right.
But we want to minimize chronic inflammation,
Mm,
and that's the key.
that is the key. All right. So since we don't have Dr. Larissa today, we're gonna, this is all going to be around food
Right.
and how food impacts inflammation in the body. Um, so what are some of the signs that we might notice if we're eating things that are creating inflammation?
So first off would be gut issues, bloating, gas, diarrhea, constipation. Those are really easy. Um, Brain fog, um, low energy, would be sort of next level, I think. Skin issues sometimes that'll
Mm-hmm.
pop up as, um, joint pain for sure. And I think those are sort of the next level. Then the following level would be things that we might show up in our blood work or in tests. So, medical tests. So if our cholesterol gets high, that can be inflammation. If our blood sugar is high, that can be inflammatory. If we start going down the osteopenia, osteoporosis pathway, that can be related to inflammation as well because we're using up more bone than we're creating. So, but
Mm,
those are things you have to test for. They're sort of silent, right?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So, first
Yeah.
level, but it doesn't always have to be related to your gut. Um, I often find brain, when I work with people and we go on an anti-inflammatory diet, it's not unusual for them to say, gee, I'm so much more productive at work. Um,
Mm,
and so it's sometimes it's little shifts. Sometimes it's big things like puffiness, especially in your face or your middle,
yeah.
just kind of goes away. And it's almost, for some people, can be kind of like, oh my gosh, I just lost 3 pounds. I didn't do anything, right? Like overnight, they
Yeah.
lose some of that puffiness. And of course, that doesn't help. That doesn't happen to everyone. So
Because
it's not
it's
a weight loss
usually
diet.
a water
Right,
weight, right? It's scale weight.
right.
It's not losing
You're
fat,
holding
right?
on, right, right.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not a weight loss diet. It's really a diet that supports your body, and it's based in whole foods, limiting um, processed foods, really nutrient dense, and then whatever works for you. And so, you know, let's get into the weeds about what it could look like, sort of level 1, level
Yeah.
2, level
So
3.
it's not if someone says, "Oh, I'm going to go on a keto diet." So that it's not an eating pattern, right? That's a
Right,
style of eating. That is not the same thing as inflammatory or not inflammatory. It's
right,
actual foods that you consume and
right.
whatever eating pattern
Exactly.
style
And
you're
it
eating.
fits into every other diet. It fits into a vegetarian diet. It fits into a carnivore diet. It fits into a keto diet. So you can make any of those diets anti-inflammatory.
Yeah. Before we talk about the foods and the an anti-inflammatory diet, what are the risks of not solving this and being in a state of inflammation on a chronic level?
Oh, good question. So each of us has a different pathway that we might go to just based on our body, genetics, epigenetics, whatever. And chronic illness is sort of the place that you could go.
Mm,
And certainly when if your chronic illness is anti-inflammatory, I mean, is autoimmune, you can be at risk of another autoimmune disease.
mm,
So, and I think, you know, when we look at cardiovascular disease, if you have one cardiovascular issue, like high cholesterol, maybe you gain weight around your middle, right? You could be at risk of diabetes. That they all sort of keep compounding, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and sometimes it can be completely different things, but the idea is if your body is in chronic inflammation, there's more opportunity for disease at different levels. And
Wow. So we put ourselves more at risk.
postmenopausal, right? Postmenopausal, when our estrogen goes down, estrogen is a very potent anti-inflammatory. And that's why we see diseases in women happening so much more after menopause. So
Yeah.
that's we don't, none of us want to be old and sick, right? We want to be old and
We just want to
vibrant.
be old and yeah,
Right.
sexy. I prefer. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we want to have our energy and we want to feel good and we want to be able to do whatever it is that we're passionate about,
Right.
and not have to worry because this hurts or that hurts or we can't
Yeah.
move or we have to, we're always whatever, have to take our medicine at this time or go to the doctor,
Right.
whatever the issue is,
Right.
right? So that's
Right.
sort of the key as we age. And it's really chronic inflammation can happen at any age, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some
Mm-hmm.
of us just have lucky genes and some of us don't, but we are how we live our life, our diet, our lifestyle, how we process stress, how we move, that can all contribute to either an inflammatory pathway or an anti-inflammatory pathway.
Mm-hmm. That's so good to know. And I love that we are in control of a certain part of this experience.
Right,
There's genetics, there's also environment,
right,
um, but we can impact how we feel and our experience around inflammation with the things that we choose to eat
right,
and managing stress. And
right. And
so,
it's certainly one
um,
pathway that we actually have some control about,
right, right.
right?
And then if we can solve for that, and then we can work on the other pathways that maybe we have less control over or are harder to change.
Right,
Maybe if you have a mold issue in your home or things like that, those things might be more difficult to change. But food, we can choose
we
that.
can
We can
change.
make a big
Right,
impact that
right,
things
right.
like that. So,
And I think
well,
one of
let's
the
talk
key
about it.
things about an anti-inflammatory diet, there's the things we want to eat and focus on, and then there's the things that we want to cut out. And for a lot of people, the cutting out part can be a big deal. And
Let's go right to the main one we should cut out. That I no wait, let me
well,
take away the
number
word
one for me
should.
would be
No
added
should,
sugar,
no should, no should.
so not in fruit or anything like that,
Oh
but
sugar.
added
That's not
sugar,
what I thought you were
extra
gonna
extra.
say. That's not what I thought you were gonna say about
Oh,
sugar. I mean, I know
oh,
sugar. But I was going down the alcohol
oh,
route.
oh. You know,
What's it?
I find, well, you know what? This is the thing. It can be any
Which
trigger
is
for any
sugar.
person, right? Which is
Yeah.
sugar,
Yeah.
right? Um, I mean, I'll just be honest. When the hardest thing for me going through the final bits of menopause, when I was getting hot flashes, was with coffee. And for me, like, that was
Mm.
like a really big deal to have
It was
to
worse.
start to
Coffee
limit.
was your trigger
It
versus
was
alcohol.
right, right. And some people it's sugar, right?
Yeah.
Some people it
Okay.
might be
Fair.
dairy or so, right? So
Okay, never
so
mind.
really
I
the
just was
key
like,
is this is an experiment on your
mm,
body. And I think if we go into this like, okay, I want to learn, just because something is inflammatory for me right now doesn't mean it is forever, right? What can I learn so I can feel better now? And
mm,
what
very good.
happens when we stop doing things on autopilot, we actually realize there's a whole world of other foods out there that we might totally enjoy, but we've never tried, or we haven't given a chance, or we have a chip on our shoulder because, we had to eat it as a kid a certain way and it was
Broccoli.
disgusting, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And now you might love it. So
Right.
that's you have to go into it with a mindset like this is a little bit of a puzzle. I'm excited to learn about me and what's happening in my body, what triggers me. So the first level, added sugar, alcohol, caffeine, anything processed, super processed foods. Um, I don't know, I'm thinking French fries, potato chips,
Right.
stuff like that.
Right. Ultra
Those are sort of the,
processed. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, ultra processed foods. Those are the things I would take out first,
Hmm.
first level. And at the
Hmm.
same time, you want to be adding in more nutrient dense foods. So plant foods, the fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans and legumes, herbs and spices, um, good sources of protein, vegetable proteins or animal proteins, whatever floats your thing. Um, Lots of healthy fats, so the kind of things that are rich in omega-3 fatty acids like flax seeds and salmon and walnuts and think, the food sort of like that. Lots of herbs and spices, fermented foods that are good for your gut, foods rich in fiber. And then see, sort of take a little stock, do it for a couple weeks,
Hmm.
3 weeks, 4 weeks, see where you're at.
Barb, how do you feel about an elimination diet? Because even let's say you take out alcohol, added sugar, ultra processed foods, and you're eating clean foods, right? But you still don't feel great.
Yeah,
How do
that's
you
sort of
know if
level
it's
two for me. That's a great point.
okay?
That's level
Okay,
two.
so level one or
Level
those sort of
one
easier
is like
things to,
a nutrient dense diet. Take out the processed things with if you can't pronounce something on a label, you don't want to eat it,
right?
right? You shop the perimeter of the market,
Yes.
Whole
But this is where I
Foods.
say about MenoWell bars, and you know because you
Yes.
you signed off. But there's so many snacks out there, bars that we're chasing protein all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not against that. I chase protein, but you have to read the label because
Right.
what are we swapping for?
Exactly.
Regardless of the kind of protein you're trying to get, read the label. And if you cannot pronounce the ingredients on the label, that is not a great source of
Addictive.
protein.
Right.
Just
Right.
saying.
Exactly.
Just
Exactly. And
saying.
it's really important. Like I have to even I take my glasses into the grocery store and I look because there's a lot
Readers.
of hidden stuff,
Yes,
right? And it
exactly.
just, once you know what you like, it's great. But if you want to try something new, and especially in the middle aisles, that's where you see all sorts of preservatives and just stuff that is not good.
You got to
Um,
really, really read.
yeah,
And I love that you called out when we're going through this transition of changing our diet, looking for nutrient dense foods, looking for foods that basically we're swapping for a better version of
yeah.
what we're doing. It takes a little bit of effort. This is a conversation I'm having with my husband all the time now. Honey, read the labels. Read the labels because he just takes it at face value for what it is on the
And
outside or
there's
the
so
thing
much
is.
health washing on food
Oh,
labels, right?
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
think it's going to be
So,
healthy until you really look at it.
because it says healthy on the
Right.
outside.
It actually says healthy. And just because it's organic doesn't mean it's healthy, right?
Exactly. So hey, there's Dr. Larissa joined us. Let's make sure as we're going through this journey and looking at single ingredient foods are fantastic, way easier, right? Not a
Right.
blend of things.
But that doesn't mean you
Read the
can't get
labels.
something that is more complicated, right? Like I will buy tomato sauce with herbs and vegetables in it, right? But I check to make sure there's no hidden sugar in there.
Right.
There's no hidden preservatives that I don't understand what that word is or anything like
Correct.
that, right?
It doesn't end with xylitol or
Right. Or
even os.
oats or anything like
Os.
that.
Nose to the os.
Right. No to the oats. Right. And I
Okay,
think
so
the other
level
thing
one.
is with an
Yeah. Okay, good.
well, let's get to elimination diet in a second because that's kind of level
Okay.
two.
Okay.
The whole point of a anti-inflammatory diet is do this, let your system calm down, and then you want to reintroduce things if you want to, one at a time, and see how your body feels. I mean, for me, it's really hard to say I'm never gonna have like flourless
Pizza.
chocolate cake ever again in my life, but I want to test that and see how my body reacts on its own so that I know going into eating it what is going to happen. If it's
Mhm.
going to cause me hot flashes or joint pain, I might decide not to have it. Or I
Right.
might
Or
decide to have it, but I'm going to go
sleeplessness.
in fully informed about what's going to happen. Right?
Make a conscious decision. Oh, Dr.
Right.
Marisha says high fructose corn syrup.
Yeah,
No, yeah,
exactly.
we don't.
Yeah.
That's
And I
an
think
oath, another oath.
alcohol's a great thing. It's social. It it makes you feel good in the moment. For me, I don't sleep well, and I always wake up with a headache even if I have like half a glass of wine. So for
Yeah.
me,
Same.
if I want to work out the next day, or I want to feel good, or I want to work, I'm not going to have alcohol because the the cost of it is too much for me.
Yeah.
If it's my birthday and it's on a Saturday and I'm not doing anything Sunday, I might decide to have it. So
Right.
it's that information that is the power in
Mm.
this.
I love that. Right. We're grown-ups. We can make an informed decision, but that's the whole point. Make a conscious, informed decision, and then we can
Exactly.
decide.
Exactly.
And knowing our bodies by going through this process of looking at the foods that we eat, taking out the things that might be causing us to not feel well, then we can choose, okay, I'm going to sacrifice not feeling so good for tomorrow because this is going to be fun for tonight. This one
Exactly.
time.
This
Yeah.
one night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so next level is an elimination diet. And there are lots of foods that people could have sensitivities to. And we're certainly not talking about allergies. If you have an anaphylactic allergy, you're never going to eat that food again, right? You don't
Right.
want to put anyone at risk. But gluten,
Mhm.
dairy, corn, soy, peanuts, and eggs, sort of the next level.
Mm.
And
Eggs.
again,
Wow. We
yeah,
talk
well, it
a
can be
lot
for
of
a lot of people,
eggs. Yeah. Hmm.
right? And if you're trying to get a lot of protein, if you cut out eggs and you cut out dairy, it's a pretty big you have to really be conscious about what you're going to eat. You can't kind of go on the fly and say, oh, I'll have some cottage cheese because it gets me up to my protein goal and it's not so bad in calories and it's easy, right? You have to
Ding,
cook a little bit, right?
ding,
And be
and ding.
prepared. You have
Right.
to meal
If you
prep and
open
things
up
like
my
that.
refrigerator,
Yeah,
I've got the stack of cottage cheese, the stack of Greek yogurt. Right.
yeah,
Just because in a hurry, I'd rather just take out a big, huge double blob of cottage cheese and some carrots and move on.
right,
I'm check,
right,
check on that.
right. But
So,
and an elimination diet is something you want to do for a month max, and then okay, maybe 6 weeks or whatever. You see how
mm,
you feel, and then you
mm,
reintroduce one food at a time for a couple days. You want to eat it for 3 or 4 days. You want to see if you have any symptoms. If you have symptoms, you stop eating it, let your body calm down, and then reintroduce the next food.
mm,
So, in that way, you can figure out if you have a sensitivity to a food at this particular time.
mm.
And I don't want people to cut out all of these foods forever if they don't need to, because that's I want people to eat variety and as much variety as possible. But if something's causing chronic inflammation or contributing to chronic inflammation, let's let your body calm down. And same thing, identify what that is, at least right now, and pull it out.
Yeah.
And
I
then,
think it's an elimination diet feels really hard, but I did something, they don't do it anymore, called the 30 clean. I did it
uh-huh,
twice, where you don't eat white foods or beans even for 30 days. So no dairy, no white rice,
flour,
blah
no,
blah,
yeah,
no
yeah,
flour, and no beans. And at day 4, I had, which people may have heard of before, flu tox. So no
yeah,
sugar, obviously.
yeah,
Flu tox. And that was like a common thing that they prepared you for. that your
Yeah.
body is detoxing from all the sugar that's just in your system, and you have the worst headache,
Yeah.
like a migraine, and you feel like you're having the flu.
Or you feel like you
And
have the flu,
the
like you're getting
flu,
sick. Yeah. And right
it's
now, people often
and
think
we
they have
live at that
COVID.
level.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We just live at that level of toxicity, right?
Right.
Toxicity, and have no idea that it's because it feels
Right.
normal, whatever
And
that
it's
is, and
also,
then you
it's
don't have
not
it.
exactly, it's like it's chronic, low grade, and you don't really even realize that you don't feel good until you take those foods away and you
Yeah.
get through that Herx reaction. And then you realize, like, oh, wow, look what I've been missing. It's
And
like,
you feel great. And
yeah,
I lost, they don't let you weigh yourself till the end of the 30
yeah,
days.
yeah.
And I lost 8 pounds in one
Wow.
month. And
Wow.
I'm a small person, and it
Yeah, that's a
wasn't
lot.
hard. I was still eating protein, fats, and complex carbs every
Yeah.
single day, on every plate. But yeah. And so
Yeah.
it
And,
was great, but it was
I
really
think with an
interesting.
elimination diet, there are sort of the next level down would be for some people, they're intolerant of beans and legumes, nightshade vegetables, some of the other grains. I know when I first had my health journey, I was reactive to gluten, but also to rice. And so I had to kind of figure that out.
Mm,
Um, but again, I don't go all reduce all of those foods at the beginning if we don't need to. Like that would be level 3 to
yeah.
me, to go down. Because in stuff with beans, like we really want that fiber as
I
midlife
was going to
women.
say we need our
Right.
fiber, and it's hard to get
Yeah.
sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
And
see
I think
health
that's a
coach.
really important. What's that?
No, I just see that health coach Angela has a question about protein powder, plant-based
Oh,
protein powder.
yeah. Grab that.
Yeah. So, I think it can be great. I think if you're doing an elimination diet, you would probably want to avoid soy. And again, with any protein powder, look at what they're adding to it to flavor it. I
Hmm.
tend to go for plain and I add my own flavorings,
Yeah.
because there can
That
be,
isolate. Right.
yeah,
Because all the other.
sugar, there can be sweeteners, there can be coloring, there can be all sorts of things that you might not want in there. So,
Yes. I like a good pea protein. We use pea protein
mhm,
in the bars.
in the bars, yeah.
But you've got to read it. Read the labels. Read the labels.
Yeah.
Inform
And
yourself,
see
people.
if you're
That's the thing.
sensitive to something, right? Like when I was sensitive to rice, I can eat it now. Rice protein was not so good. Pea was fine. Rice was not, right?
Hmm.
But it's
Hmm.
very individualized. And I think that the key thing is like go into this with the mindset that it's an experiment and you're going to see
Yeah.
what happens in your body, with the idea the experiment is pull the foods out for a month, uh, or so, whatever. If you feel good, keep going. If you want to reintroduce foods, then be very methodical, because otherwise you waste your whole effort of pulling them out.
Right. If you
And
add two things back, then you have no idea which thing was the thing that was causing the thing again. Right.
exactly
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
So you really have to think this is a 2-month experiment. One, for pulling stuff out, and two, for slowly reintroducing and seeing how you feel,
Can you
right?
reintroduce something once a week? Is that enough time?
I usually have people do it for 3 days in a row. We really want to get a lot in our system,
Mm,
right? And
mm.
see how our body reacts. If you have a reaction day one, I would say that or day two, you don't finish that. Just know
It's
that's an issue for you.
like ding.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
a
then I
discovery.
would try it again in 6 months or something and see how you do.
Because we may have changed. Um, Barb, should we journal? How are we tracking this
Yes,
so
we
we
should
don't forget?
definitely journal, and really symptom journal. And that's the best way, because it gets complicated when you start reintroducing foods.
Yeah, you
And I
forget.
think another
Because we're
thing that's really,
menopausal anyway. We forgot.
yeah, exactly. Write it down. I think another thing that's really important is to share with people what you're doing so that you don't get in a situation where you go to someone's house and they've made this dinner and you can't eat anything, and then you feel bad and they feel bad and you eat it. That's not helpful to you. I think
Yeah.
being as open and just saying, I'm doing this thing, I'm trying to feel better. If you're going to someone's house, you can offer to bring something you can eat. If you're going to a
Right.
restaurant, look ahead and see what's on the menu, or what is on the menu that you could special order.
Yeah.
Like, could you get grilled fish and broccoli or something?
Yeah.
And then it's not supposed to be just boring or plain or make you feel bad.
Terrible.
It's right, and so you want to come into this like, be excited, try
Yeah.
new things.
It's a
Some
game. Right.
It's a game. Sometimes these things are going to be delicious and added to your diet no matter what, and sometimes not so much,
Yeah.
and that's okay.
That's, I think that's really been a change for me in my mindset around all the food things that I do now.
Yeah,
Because I love tracking. I actually love weighing my food now because I want to know. I'm really focused on moving the needle on my percentage of body
yeah,
fat. And it wasn't until I actually started to weigh my food that the needle started to move.
yeah.
And I see it before. I thought it was horrible. Like, I don't want to do
And
this.
people
It's
are
too
really
annoying. I
resistant
don't
to
have
it,
time for that.
right? Yeah,
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 now it's super fun. My
yeah,
husband's like, I'm like, whoa, 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 don't put that on the plate. I want to wait, that kind of thing.
yeah,
Or I'm going to choose which one of these things, these chicken breasts, I'm going
yeah,
to eat because I want to weigh the one that has the thing I want. Um, and so, but I really shifted my mindset around what a kind of a fun puzzle this whole thing is. And so I think mindset is really important as we go down this journey because you've laid out a beautiful path that's very flexible to discover what works in our bodies and doesn't, and we're all different.
right,
But if we look at it and we come from the mindset of like, isn't this interesting? I'm curious about this. We don't have to feel that we're sacrificing and taking
right. Or
away something
restricting or
forever or
anything like that.
restricting.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
but I would also throw in when you're doing something like this, I try not to go out to eat for a
yeah.
period of time because it makes it so much
It's
harder. And you go down the
much harder.
path and then like, oh, I don't want to tell my friend, oh, I can't eat that, or I don't want to go there. And I don't really, restaurants do all kinds of things to food that they say is just, there's nothing on it, and that's not
Yeah,
true.
right.
So I would invite people who want to try to eliminate some things or create a more inflammatory, less a
Le-
more less inflammatory,
and more
more less
anti-inflammatory. Yeah,
more anti-inflammatory. Thanks, Barb. Diet or way of eating, then just make a commitment to yourself. Gift
yeah,
yourself 30 days at home.
yeah.
We can control
And
what we eat
but
better.
it's okay if I don't want people not to be social either, right?
Okay.
So
I can be extreme. Like, that's it. I'm staying in my office for 30 days.
I know you can, but you can also, what else could you do that would be a fun activity? So could you go on a hike with a friend? Could you go on a picnic where you bring the stuff? Could you invite someone to your house for dinner? Could you just meet
Yeah.
for coffee, like, or tea or whatever? So it's
Right.
also thinking, how else can you change this?
Yeah.
But
You're
you
right.
absolutely can do this if you're going on a work thing. It's harder, but if you're determined and you want to feel good, you can do it.
That's when I would go to the tried and true garden salad, no dressing.
Yeah.
And then I
Yeah.
can just put
Just
on
ask for
what I
oil and
want,
vinegar on the
vinegar
side or
or olive
lemon.
oil.
Yeah.
Right, right. And because you can always have that if you go to a restaurant and then eat whatever you
Yeah.
want to eat, either before or usually before is better. Otherwise, I'm very tempted to have all the
Yeah.
good stuff.
I mean,
Um,
I've done things like taken my protein when I was really into this. I would go somewhere, order a plain salad. And so I was ordering,
you put
right?
your food on,
I
you
put
bring your
my
protein
own
in your purse
protein
and
on. Yeah. Yeah. I've done that. I've
commitment.
certainly
Yeah.
done, I brought like kind of my own seed mix and gone and ordered a bowl of berries or fruit somewhere. And then I pour
Mhm.
my seeds in and my protein. So I can fill it up that way. I've done all sorts of things because I had to play with this for so much for my own self. Okay, so here's my cautionary tale. When I first did an elimination diet, I kind of freaked out and I was like, how can I do the workaround? I didn't have the best mindset about it, right? I thought it would be
Mindset is
weird.
huge.
I was like, this is going to be hard. So somehow I got in my head that Rice Krispie treats were okay because they were gluten free.
The kind you make, or
Dairy-free.
not the kind in the package? Please don't
No,
say
I
the
made
kind.
them. But then I realized like this was terrible, right? This is not what
Oh my God.
not what was meant to be.
Trigger
There's
food. I would just,
exactly. Yeah,
all over
yeah.
it.
I made my kids happy, but that's what not to do,
Why
right?
did you? I'm going to be thinking about Rice Krispie treats all day today, Barb. That is literally like I haven't had those in years. It's like one of my favorite things ever,
Yeah.
Barb.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But anyway, cautionary tale. That is not anti-inflammatory.
Okay.
It's tons of added
Thanks.
sugar and, you know, no offense to Rice Krispies, but there's not very much nutrition in that.
No,
So,
there
yeah.
isn't.
So I think, what is an anti-inflammatory diet? Colorful plant foods, protein, healthy fats, fats that are not, if you go in your cupboard and any fat smells rancid, like it's been there a while. I mean, that happens to me sometimes with some of the specialty oils, right, that I bought to make one thing with.
Sure.
And then a year later, if it doesn't smell good, don't eat it. Right.
Right. Throw it out.
Throw it
Not
out.
worth it.
Throw it out. And this time of year, we're coming into spring. We're starting to get, this is this we're, spring and summer. There's so much colorful stuff that'll start in the market soon. So that's great.
Farmers market time.
Yeah,
exactly.
definitely.
This is our best time of year to eat fresh.
Yeah.
Wherever you are. There's so many people with little fruit stands and things that are all over the place.
Yeah. In fact,
I
went for a walk this morning and one of my neighbors had a big basket of lemons out. I was so happy.
You're like, thank you.
Yeah.
Can
Exactly.
I have two? Yeah,
exactly. Can I have two?
Can I have two?
Yeah.
Really good. Okay, so give us a quick recap, Barb, about how we need to approach an anti-inflammatory diet.
So anti-inflammatory diet can be super helpful for reducing all sorts of symptoms from gut, cardiovascular, brain, bone, muscle, joint, hot flashes. The key to it is getting a good mindset about it. This is meant to help you. It's not meant to be punishment. It's short term. Figure out what is an issue for you. I said at the beginning, one of the things that triggered hot flashes for me was coffee. I can drink coffee as much as I want now. So it doesn't have to be a forever thing. Sometimes it is, but it doesn't have to be. This is working in progress. You want to take the foods out that you've identified could be triggers and let your system calm down for a couple weeks and then start to reintroduce them one at a time. And for a couple days each, really load your system up with them and see how your body responds. If you have a reaction, highlight it in your notebook and then decide if you want to have this food or not.
Right. So good.
Yeah.
Everything we can do to minimize inflammation in our body adds to, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, years on our lives.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's things beyond our control, but food and what we eat is something we can control. And if we notice rashes and sore joints and chronic puffiness, things like that, those are little signs that the body is saying, I don't really like that. I don't really like what you're eating. Yeah. And so it could be other things.
Your taste buds like it doesn't mean that your body likes
it, right?
Yeah.
Like Rice Krispie treats. Oh.
Yeah. And we have to remember so many of these processed foods are created with this perfect balance to make us want to eat more of it.
Sugar, butter, and salt. Perfect.
But what happens is when we reduce those things, we pull them out of our diet for a little while, we're not things seem too sweet or too salty or too
Right.
fatty. They don't
Right.
taste good anymore.
Right. That's
But we
what
have
I
to make that,
noticed.
we have to like kind of go on a vacation from them
For
for a
sure.
little
We need
bit.
to give it a break. I
Yeah.
used to love Diet Coke back in the day. No,
Yeah.
not shaming Diet Coke drinkers, but try bubbly water. And now it's so sweet. I couldn't even take it.
Yeah.
That's why, some people think our bars are not sweet, very sweet, but it's because and I think it's a gift that we can give ourselves in midlife is to wean ourselves off of very, very sweet tastes.
Yeah.
Because we get used to them. And
Yeah.
so it's like super sweet and super salty. We just don't need that level of, I don't even want to say flavor, because when you move away from that, then things like berries
Tastes
are just like,
delicious,
they're
right?
so
Yeah.
delicious, the
Yeah.
flavor, things like
Yeah.
that. So,
Or even a
or
banana, like it
a
is
banana
like
is like
candy, right?
dessert. Exactly. For sure. Well, Barb, this is awesome. Thank you.
Thank
I love
you.
talking about this all the time. I'm so like food obsessed, but I'm food obsessed in a different way than I used to be, like in a healthy. It's just
Yeah.
I'm food curious, I would say, and eating curious because we do know, and you've taught me, food is medicine, and it's the pathway, it's the gateway to feeling better during
Right.
all
And how do
stages
we
of life.
nourish ourselves, right?
Mm,
That's the question. Like, what
mm,
are we nourishing ourselves? And there's
yeah.
so many foods we can enjoy
Hmm.
that are whole foods and supportive of our health.
So good. Okay,
Thank you
if
for
anyone,
having me.
oh, always, if someone wants to hunt you down, where should they find you besides here on the MenoLounge?
Barb Sobel _ nutrition on Instagram, and barbsobel.com is my website.
Go find her. I know where she
Thanks.
is. Thank you, Barb, always.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody, for being here. Be well. Talk
Bye.
soon.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
Julie.
Thank you.